Welcome. Let me go and get the tech together, make sure everyone's on from Amazon Live. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My main thing is helping you as a solopreneur, as a side hustler, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. I'm the author of the new book, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. I'll throw the link up there. Now available in hardcover. It's actually independent, which means I own my own imprint. I've been self-publishing for many years now, starting with the bestseller, The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, which came out. We're approaching the 5-year anniversary. So yeah, exciting time. But when you self-publish, you often cannot do hardcovers. So I actually went in reverse, where the paperback, which I have somewhere around here, actually right above my head over here, as well as the audiobook version, which you can get through Audible or through the link right here on Amazon. All those came out first. And the hardcover just came out, like a week ago. We had to launch back. We, as in myself, had launched back on January 28th. So thanks all y'all that supported it. But it's Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. It really ties into my coaching because I'm a one-on-one coach, particularly with people, again, who are non-traditional entrepreneurs. So if you have a side hustle, if you have kids at home, you might hear mine in a moment. Or if you have older adults or other people that you're taking care of. If you have a traditional job and you're trying to escape the corporate route and don't know how to do that, this is a good book to start, as well as my previous books, which are all available on Amazon or through my main website, DamonBrown.net. In fact, if you go over there, you get the Built From Now t-shirt, the Bring Your Worth mug, which I got all kinds of stuff going on with that, but I think I left my mug downstairs. and also, if you want a signed copy of Built From Now, the predecessor, Bring Your Worth, or again, the aforementioned Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, all kinds of good stuff, come through DamonBrown.net. All right. I am excited today. Oh, I totally forgot. Build From Now quiz, buildfromnowquiz.com. It's a free quiz, obviously based on the new book, Build From Now. It will tell you and show you what your biggest resource is. It's a free quiz, multiple choice. We're approaching like 1,000 people taking it. Whew, a lot of people have come through. A lot of people are getting the insight that they need. I am so proud of the quiz that I created. Again, it's multiple choice. It takes like 2 minutes. Come through and get some information. Learn more about the book. You don't have to buy the book, though. You can just get your information from the quiz. My main thing, if you've been following me at all, is that you know that I'm really into giving to the community of the Bite-Sized Entrepreneurs that I have been a part of. I was an entrepreneur twice. My second startup, called Cuddler, ended up getting acquired about a year after myself and my 2 co-founders bootstrapped it. And that was all while I was taking care of my soon-to-be 8-year-old baby. But back then, he was only 4 months old. What a journey. I talk about that in Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur. I talk about that quite a bit more in Build From Now. And this is part of that conversation. I want to support you however I can. This quiz is part of me giving back. And if you're catching us on YouTube or even on Amazon Live, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is my YouTube channel. Feel free to click on there and subscribe. You won't miss an episode. I actually am coming to y'all every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30-ish Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time here. I do a live show on Wednesday, and then the Monday and Wednesday shows are already pre-recorded. They're 10, 15 minutes long. I am scheduled through April. So if you subscribe now, you'll be getting some good business nuggets, getting insight from anywhere from Brene Brown to Mark Cuban to Seth Godin to Simon Sinek. I just finished an episode talking about some of his insight. That's going to be running very soon. You can check it out, see what's happening. That's what's up. Today, we're talking about the 4 different resources that we all have: focus, agility, time, and energy. We all have them. I have a TED Talk. You can see in the link below that talks about this even more. And of course, I get deeper into it because that's the framework of Build From Now, as well as my coaching practice. Last week, we talked about focus. If you go to, if you're on Amazon Live, you can check out last week's episode. More importantly, if you're on YouTube, you can just click on the Bring Your Worth show, which is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. Check out last week's episode. I think it was called How to Focus Well. that focused, ironically enough, on the first resource. The second resource is agility. That's what we're talking about today. How you can be agile at work. Now, you understand my emphasis, so it's not just work as in you going to a 9 to 5. It's also work as far as the work that you do. I am 100% independent. I've been independent for 21 years now, since grad school. To celebrate an anniversary with that. Yeah, if I had a kid at that time, they could drink. I think it's 21. I need to be a better parent. I believe it's 21 where you can drink. So anyway, it's been long enough where it's been a really good journey. And one of the biggest things that I found with that is that you can be and should be agile. I talk about that again on the upcoming episodes. If you subscribe here, then you'll be able to get a little alert. Nothing intrusive, but you'll get an alert when the episode's about to run, and you won't miss anything. If you have the YouTube app, they don't automatically get to your app. So it's worth the time. Agility, though, really helps with the longevity and with the insight as far as, not even insight. Let me just, because I have a really good definition here in the book. I don't know why I'm trying to reinvent the wheel here. I literally have the definition in the book. It's I don't know why I'm making it so hard this morning. So forgive me. Obviously, I need some coffee. All right. So I have and built from now, I have 4 chapters in the back of the book, in the last half of the book. First half has to do with the systems that are around us. Then the second half has to do with the different resources: focus, agility, time, and energy. And as I describe it in here, agility. Agility is trusting yourself to make the next best move. It is intuitive, fluid, and welcoming. So agility has to do with trusting yourself. You trust that, just like me going on the air with you. This is live. There's no strings attached. I don't have a producer. It's just me and the many of you talking. And of course, I'm talking to you proverbially one-on-one. I don't know what's going to happen. There's a lawnmower going on outside. My kids are in school, but it's quiet right now, so I'm going to run with it. I don't know what comments are going to come in, and comments are starting to come in on Amazon as well as through YouTube. I don't know. That's agility at work, because you don't know what's going to happen. Part of it is making sure that you recognize the resources that you have at the moment. But another part of it, which I talk about in the book, is having the confidence that you'll be able to work with whatever you've got. Many of us kind of deal with what Carol Dweck of the book Mindset. It's a classic book that came out two decades ago. What Carol Dweck talks about as far as having a fixed mindset, worrying that you're not going to make it, worrying that there's a sense of scarcity and rigidness. Like, if I don't have this tool, then I'm not going to be able to make it. Agility is the opposite of that. It's what she calls a growth mindset, where it's like, no matter what's going to happen, again, with the lawnmower outside, with my kids downstairs, with my books and various things happening in my office, I know that whatever resources I need, I'll have them. And if I don't have the resources that I want, then I'll be able to adapt to the ones that are available. Trusting that is half the battle. The other half of the battle, of course, is learning to adapt more. So that's what we're going to talk about. I have 3 really good book recommendations that I think will help us through that process. And if it's something that you're struggling with, again, if you're liking it, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, throw some comments in here now, or you can go ahead and throw some comments when you review it later, because it'll actually be available for replay later on this afternoon. All right. So the first one is Think Again by Adam Grant. I actually forgot his name. I've talked with the guy. I don't know why I forgot his name. Think Again by Adam Grant. It actually is a good parallel to my new book, Build From Now. In fact, our books came out all around the same time, and he's been supportive. He actually just threw one of my links in his really popular newsletter. If you go to adamgrant.com, you can check out his newsletter. I'm in the March issue, so thank you, Adam. His book came out about a week after mine, so we kind of have twins. Where my book is really about mastering the resources that you have in the past, the things that you built, focus, agility, time, and energy, and then making most of it. There's also this great thing as far as you saying, all right, when you're actually thinking again about something, you're looking at the past, you're looking at your history and saying, yes, there are things that happened. How can I look at them differently? And that's what he talks about. And he has great examples from BlackBerry. If you're my age, you've heard of the BlackBerry. If you're not, you probably don't know what a BlackBerry is. BlackBerry was the iPhone and the Android device before iPhone and Android device, and it was 85% of the phones in the world were BlackBerries, some insane number. iPhone came out, they were blindsided, but they weren't thinking again about what their users needed. In the case of BlackBerry, they were really trying to push and say, how can I go back and look at what my audience needs now compared to what they needed in the past? If I remember correctly, and that's why I'm stopping here, because I'm trying to remember with BlackBerry, I think the biggest issue with BlackBerry, and he covers it really well in the book, was that they believed people needed a physical keyboard. When's the last time you had a smartphone with a physical keyboard? If you're a millennial, I'm Gen X, Gen Y. If you're a millennial, that's probably never, especially if you're a young millennial. But for BlackBerries in that generation, that time, they're like, the iPhone's not going to work because people need a keyboard. They want a keyboard, it's going to fail. And of course, Apple just ran over them. And within 4 or 5 years, I think RIM, who was a producer of BlackBerry, went bankrupt, if I remember correctly. If they weren't bankrupt, they definitely had like a tiny market share at the end. Who's heard of them now? It doesn't matter anymore, right? Think Again is basically Adam Grant saying, who's also a coach like me, he's saying, think about those assumptions that you made, right? A good example is with my own work. I'm a public speaker. I've spoken at TED several times. Again, you go to my YouTube channel, I'll throw it up. Check out my TED Talks, or you go to TED.com. And I think half my TED Talks are on there. I've done 4. There's so many people that are in the speaking arena. And if you go to my YouTube channel and check out the previous episodes, I have an episode that just ran like 2-3 weeks ago about what 3 things that public speakers need to understand right now. And there's so many people in my arena who are professional public speakers. I'm paid well to do public speaking. I've spoken overseas and so forth. It's part of my repertoire. Fancy word today, repertoire. There's so many of us that are saying, okay, the virus hit. I think it's like a year anniversary of us sheltering in place here in America. The virus hit. I'm not going to learn how to do YouTube. I'm not going to connect on Amazon Live. I'm not doing that because I'm an in-person speaker. That's what I do. So I'm going to sit here and chill or whatever until the world opens back up. But then when the world opens back up, which is already starting to happen, knock on wood, then this is still going to be part of the experience. As opposed to myself and a lot of people that I know and respect who are on Amazon Live, connecting with y'all directly. I love being in person. I love traveling. I love traveling with my family. I love traveling by myself. I love meeting new people. I love shaking hands and giving hugs. Heck, the app that I ended up selling, Cuddler, was about people connecting for hugs. So that level of intimacy is so important to me. But we don't have that right now. So we have to be agile and adapt to this. This is me taking Adam Grant's advice, not directly, but in the book, he's asking all of us to think again, right? That's agility. You do things a certain way, and then suddenly something happens, or more importantly, if you prompt something, which I think it's kind of a subtext of the book, you do that before you have to. You do that before a pandemic, right? I wish I would have gotten serious about this YouTube conversation before the pandemic happened. And I'm usually pretty agile. I give myself credit for that. But me building us up and talking with you, I could have been doing this the whole time. So I'm catching up now. But there's other things that I did that were very agile. Think Again. Sorry, I totally bogarted this book. Think Again by Adam Grant. Really interesting book. I love this previous book, Originals, which is right there. I'm getting better with this aiming thing. His book is right behind me. That's not a prop. Like, his book has been on my shelf for years. I saw him speak at TED. I got a chance to meet him a few years ago, also at TED. Super cool guy. I wish him the best of luck with the book. I recommend the book, though. I think it's already blowing up the charts because it came out like 2-3 weeks ago. I wish him the best of luck with that. But if you're having a hard time adapting in new circumstances, it might be because your thoughts are so rigid that you're not allowing yourself to move forward. If you're into some of his secrets, which I think he's so smart as far as with the arguments that he brings up, I have a YouTube Bring Your Worth, forgot the name of my show, Bring Your Worth show that aired about a month or 2 ago, around the time the show started getting serious and it became a regular thing. It's about Adam Grant's the name of his newsletter, Adam Grant's Time Management Secret. You can watch right now on my YouTube channel at YouTube. that link right there. Just click the link. I'm not going to go through all that. I don't want to torture y'all with that. But check it out. It's based on a conversation he had with Tim Ferriss, of course, of the 4-Hour Workweek fame. But really good conversation. I break it down as far as the time management secret that he has. I also mentioned that in Build From Now. And I quote him in there a couple of times. So again, love Adam's work. His new book is Think Again. So if you're feeling rigid, you might want to rethink the stuff that you're doing. All right. So any of y'all know me, you know this is my guy, The Dip by Seth Godin. I'm a fan of his. I've been part of the Kimbo workshop, which is at AKIMBO. It's a Japanese word. I should know how to spell it. When I was part of the workshop I was part of the last cohort. I forget the name of our cohort, but you can look it up on there. So we're just wrapping up right now. So they're really supportive as far as me actually creating Build From Now. But I was a fan well before this. The Dip came out, I want to say 2 decades ago, a long time ago. 2 decades, it might have been 25 years ago. It is extremely relevant now. The Dip has to do with knowing when to quit, when to stop. You can't have everything as a priority. We've talked about this. You can't have everything as a priority. You can't do everything. I can't be the number one guidance in my son's lives and be on the road doing 300 speaking engagements every year and have a thriving coaching practice and be a journalist, because my background is journalism. I have a column with Inc. Magazine, column with Costco, the magazine, it's Costco Connections. I can't do all that stuff at the same time. I have to decide. Certain things have to end. Certain things need to be quit. And we have such an issue. I've done entire TED Talks about it. Again, you can catch it on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/BrownDamon. You can subscribe right there. I've had whole conversations, TED Talks. I've been on the TED stage saying we need to learn how to quit well. This book is gold. It's a tiny book. I didn't discover it. I think my mom, Bernadette Johnson, shout out to her. I think my mom gave me the book around the time that I was starting my first startup, So Quotable, which is right before Cuddler, and Cuddler is the one that I'm most known for. And it was when my eldest was 4 months old, 5 months old, and I was listening to the audiobook. So it was one of the first audiobooks I really got into. And it is short. I think the audiobook's like an hour and a half long. The book itself is like tiny. And what he talks about is circumstances in which you should quit. A really quick anecdote that he shares in the book, and I've shared it in The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur. I share it very briefly in the new one, Build From Now. Again, it's available everywhere. Is this anecdote as far as a ultra marathon runner? I think that's the name of it. Shout out to my good friends who are runners and do the extreme running. That's not in my blood, but respect to them. But it was an extreme runner, and someone had asked him, "When do you know when to quit?" Because I mean, he's one of those guys where he's like in his 70s and he's running 100 miles in the Sahara Desert, like one of those guys. I think it's ultra marathon run is the term. And he said, "I decide what circumstances I'm going to quit before I start. I see what circumstances under which I'm going to quit before I start. So if my right leg starts hurting to the point where it starts to feel numb, I'm going to keep going. But if both of my legs start hurting, then I'm going to stop." Right? If one of my shoulders starts acting up and hurting, both of them, that's fine. But if my hip goes out, then I'm going to get out of the race. Like setting those parameters ahead of time. That is a sense of agility. That gets into strategy. I love strategy. So that gets into strategy. And that's what you're talking about when you're getting into agility. It's you can kind of almost literally the definition of prepare, like pre, as in before you start, be prepared to be agile later. And there might be certain circumstances, as I talk about in the book and as I've talked about on the show. And if you've seen any of my keynotes, when I was guiding Cuddler, when I was doing the other work that I do, especially after I had kids, especially after the first one, I said, if his well-being is in jeopardy, then I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing and then have to go in a different direction. My partner, my wife, and I had many conversations about this. We talked about this well before I really got into the startup thing. And so luckily for me and for all of us, like it never got to that point. But if it got to that point, then there would have been no Cuddler. It'd be like, all right, That's not it. So before I even started, as I talked about in the Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, right there, the purple one. Just look for the purple one. As I talk about in that, I went through all kinds of ups and downs, personal upheaval, emotional stuff, physical stuff. You know, like I'm in my 40s now. I was in my late 30s when I did Cuddler. First time dad, primary caretaker. I was going through it. But my kid was always fine. As long as the kid and the household were fine, I was fine. So I went through my own ultra marathon running, if I can dare to say. And the reason I was able to make it was because I put up those parameters early, set those borders. I talk about that more in Built From Now, because agility, I give a good example of Busta Rhymes, who's a very popular rapper. But he's one of the analogies that I use, as well as other people, where agility isn't about having complete freedom. It's about having certain borders and certain lines that aren't crossed. And then within that, like Busta Rhymes, if you're familiar with any of his rapping, he's like such a Picasso. It's just amazing. He will push all kinds of boundaries. But then there's certain areas, if you listen to his interviews, and I talk about that in the book, certain areas where he won't touch them. But he knows within those areas, he has complete freedom. So sometimes agility means knowing when to quit. It means having boundaries. It means stopping. And if you're going to be agile, you have to know when to let stuff go. Sometimes it's not part of that. Actually, I have an upcoming episode. I just made a new word coming on the show. When you should quit something. I get a lot deeper into this. I reference a few different folks, including Oprah Winfrey and some others. You click on there right now. Again, if you subscribe, you'll get a notification. But premieres March 29th, which, is that 2 weeks from now? But go ahead and subscribe now, and then you'll get a notification when it becomes live. I think it's a couple of Fridays from now, but it's already scheduled. It's already recorded. I am excited and rubbing my hands because I know what you guys are going to get. That's why I'm previewing it now. Click on there and you can learn more about when to quit. Again, if you want more info on the YouTube channel, you can subscribe right there. All right. Last but not least, the creativity leap. I can never say that. The Creativity Leap by Natalie Nixon. Shout out to actually one of my clients who recommended the book. So shout out to you. Thank you for getting the book over to me. It's by Natalie Nixon. I actually had a physical book. I had an audio book of, I have like Adam's Think Again somewhere, and then I have The Dip. That's an audio book. Actually, I have a physical book of this, old school. There's Natalie. It's a tiny picture on there, but you can always look her up. Really good book. It came out, I want to say a year and a half ago, pre-pandemic. So I want to say a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But I just grabbed it again at the advice of a client about 4 or 5 months ago. It actually ended up informing a lot of Build From Now, particularly with the section where I talk about agility. So if you like that conversation, she gets much deeper into that. The book is fascinating because Natalie used to run a fashion studio, for lack of a better term, a fashion brand, I should say. She's a founder of a fashion brand. I think she worked with Victoria's Secret as well. But she has this interesting meld of consulting and creativity, artist and founder, entrepreneur and corporate executive, and corporate coach. So she has all these different things that are going on, and they all blend really nicely in this book. It's a short book. I think I read it in like an afternoon or evening. I think it was a couple quick late nights, and I read the whole book. But she talks about these two things called wonder and vigor. Wonder is, man, I'm feeling inspired to do this thing. I wonder, quite literally, I wonder what would happen if I took this idea and melded it like this. Like we used to say in Silicon Valley when I lived there 15 years ago, it's like the Uber of food. It's the X of X, doing this blending. However you want to define it, this blending, that's what wonder is. It's daydreaming, which she has a whole chapter about that, which I thought was really powerful. It's about thinking about what's possible, possibilities. That's the best way to describe it. Rigor is, all right, what are the brass tacks? How am I going to make this happen? What makes sense with this? Right? Now, if you go back to my definition of agility, which I'm not going to dig up in the book because I don't want to waste your time, but agility is basically having the confidence and the insight and the courage to say, I will be able to work with whatever comes to me. What is that but wonder? So you're pulling in the wonder, and then you end up having, so you end up having the wonder, And then you end up having the rigor where it's like, okay, I'm doing these abstract ideas. Let me pull it back down. How exactly am I going to make this happen? I have this startup I want to do. I want to influence the world this particular way. Wonderful. Let's say I want to make sure that every child in the world is fed. I like that. I always felt passionate about that, but particularly now that I'm the guardian of 2 kids, it's a whole different level where it's like, yeah, it's a different level now. I'll leave it at that. So it sounds wonderful. Great. A lot of people feel that way. That's the wonder. The rigor is, okay, so we're making a nonprofit, we're making a startup. Are we going to try to fix the food deserts here in America? Food deserts are areas where there's not fresh produce. Simplest definition of it. We're going to try to fix that. Or we're going to go overseas. Or we're going to try to tackle the whole world. Or we're going to focus on our neighborhood. Or we're going to volunteer. Or we're going to do a startup. Or we're going to do an app. Do the people that have kids that aren't getting healthy meals, do they care? How involved do they want to be? Why aren't they getting healthy meals in the first place? Does that have to do with again, I'm going into coaching mode where there's so many different levels to that. Her book breaks down that discussion. That last part I did with that little rant, that's the rigor. So you have wonder and rigor. I talk about that in, I still can't get used to the reverse. The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur Trilogy, where I have my own cycle where I talk about that, where it's pursuing, doing, and renewing. Pursuing a new idea, doing the new idea, and renewing after you've accomplished or gotten to a milestone of that new idea. Similar to the lean startup model. I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff up there, but you'll probably be able to catch some of that. She talks about that in the book. I talk about that in the Ultimate Bites. I swear this mirror thing's killing me. The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur Trilogy, specifically in the book, The Productive Bite-Sized Entrepreneur. If you own The Productive Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read it and it's on your shelf, go grab it. You'll understand the cycle I'm talking about. Her cycle is very similar. And so I look at her as a kindred spirit when it comes to this argument. You need to have the vision, but then you also need to have the rigor. You have to have the abstract ideas and let yourself relax into it. And you also need to burn a little bit of the midnight oil. You need both. That represents agility. I break that down a lot more in, again, Built From Now. Available everywhere, but congrats to Natalie on her book. It's gotten some great awards and all that good stuff. If you want more books that are similar to the discussion I'm talking about with Built From Now, my new book, then go back to another live that I had. Had to be around the holidays here in America. So I want to say like 3 months ago, even before Built From Now came out on January 28th. It's great books to buy beyond Built From Now. I highlighted it on Amazon for y'all, but you also have the link here on YouTube. Click it out, check it out. I think I give 7 books, and the Creativity Leap is one of them, which is why I'm linking it in there. But there's some awesome books out there. As I said in an upcoming Bring Your Worth YouTube show, which as I said, it's at youtube.com/BrownDamon, or you just click the link there and subscribe. As I said, an upcoming show, me pulling on Simon Sinek, the aforementioned Adam Grant, and other folks, we're all part of that same conversation. And they're competitors of mine. And we've all had conversations, whether it's a little bit on social media or in person at the TED conference or other places. We've all talked, and we all have books coming out at the same time. And it's such a beautiful experience to be able to connect with different folks and be able to say, yes, your conversation is important and my conversation is important. And it's all part of this bigger conversation, right? I forgot to mention, if you want a deeper conversation as far as how I do what I do, as far as being a parent, as far as being a journalist, and how I'm able to maximize my income, come to the Parenting Journalist Conference this Friday and Saturday. That's the link right there. Feel free to click through. Shout out to Catherine Reynolds Lewis, who's the author of Good News About Bad Behavior. Had to think about the title. It's actually somewhere up here, but it is up here. Sorry, Catherine. But she's the co-founder, co-host, co-creator of this conference, along with a couple really cool people. They're really focused on making it inclusive and talking about DEI and the LGBTQ community. Folks are represented in there. I'm proud to be one of the panelists. What I'll be talking about is making a living as a parenting journalist. Again, I got 2 little kids there. I made a full-time living as a freelance journalist. I've talked about my kids, obviously in my books, but I've also talked about in different articles and Family Circle and so forth. How do you do that? How do you actually create a decent living while you got little kids at home? I talk about that. My panel is going to be on Saturday. It's going to be 11:45 Pacific Standard Time, a.m. And so actually the same time we're talking now, that it'll be that time this coming Saturday. So whatever time zone you happen to be in, it'll be around 11:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come through. Discount, I think, might have ended, but it's still extremely affordable conference. I think it's like $99. Might be a little bit more than that, but it's extremely affordable. Like not even like, I think I'm decent, but there's some powerhouse folks in there. People from, I believe, Parents Magazine, people who have also been on the TED stage several times. Like, it's killer. So come through, say hi, see what's up. All right, so from the top, check out Think Again by Adam Grant. Make sure that Amazon folks are taken care of. Think Again by Adam Grant. Again, great book to think about, rethink your assumptions, because as I often say, if you're stuck, you have to go backwards and see what assumptions you're making, and that might be why you're stuck. I have a special show about Adam Grant's time management secret. It was actually really popular. I did it as an in column. I also did it on the Bring Your Worth YouTube channel. Links right here. Be sure and subscribe and you won't miss an episode. But check this episode if you're feeling this conversation at all. We got The Dip by Seth Godin. Seth Godin's awesome. I'll leave it at that. The Dip is about knowing when to quit. You can't be agile if you're not willing to let stuff go, right? This is the book if you're trying to let something go or if you're trying to keep it. And I have a special video show coming up 2 weeks from now. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss it. When should I quit something? Really important conversation. I loved doing the coaching conversation on it. It's like 10 minutes long. It is worth your time. Go ahead and lock in and subscribe to that. And then finally, we have The Creativity Leap by Natalie Nixon. Again, it's similar to my book, The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, where we're talking about the cycles and that you can't always be creative all the time, but you also can't always be rigorous and focused all the time either. You have to balance both. You need that daydreaming to say what's possible, and then you have to be able to pull it down to brass tacks and make it happen. That, to me, is what agility is. I talk about that a lot more in my new book, Built From Now. And if you want more insight into the conversations that Natalie, I don't know why I'm pointing over here. The conversations, I'm trying to point down here. I don't know what I'm doing. If you want more insight into what Natalie talks about, again, you can buy Built From Now, where I talk a lot more about Natalie's philosophy in there. And then you can also grab other books that support the discussions and arguments in Built From Now. I did another live show, again, 2-3 months ago before the book came out, January 28th. Check that out if you missed it. Welcome if you're a new subscriber. You want to go back and check that one out. I think it's like 5, 6, 7 books I recommend. It was a really popular episode, probably the most popular episode I've done on live. That says a lot because I've been coming out here for a few months now. All right, so, and if you want to catch me later on this week, Parenting Journalist Conference. If you're interested in making a living as a writer and you got little kids at home, you don't want to miss our discussion about how to bring in income when you got little ones at home and you're trying to juggle everything, particularly during a pandemic. If you're liking what you're hearing, seeing, or whatever, reading, if you're reading, that's cool. However you want it to work, please like, share, comment, and subscribe at my YouTube channel here. Again, I'm live every Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then I have the recorded episodes, which are 10-minute nuggets of coaching, for lack of a better term. And they happen every Monday and Friday. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you'll see me. You'll be able to connect with me. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you want to take a free quiz to understand your best resources, come over to builtfromnowquiz.com. Of course, that's based on the new book, Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. The reviews are coming in. So are some of the excerpts. I'm glad you guys love it so much. It really means a lot to me. It was hard work writing a book during a pandemic with my little kids at home about such an intense, important, and hopefully timely subject. So any energy I'm getting back from y'all, I really appreciate it. If you want to get more insight into it, take the free quiz at builtfromnowquiz.com. Of course, you can grab the book at Amazon. And if you want a signed copy of the book, as well as some of the Built From Now swag, you can get it at damonbrown.net. I think that's everything. I feel like I'm talking too much, but it's only been a half an hour. Remember that you can always bring your worth and that you can always build from now. Take care.